What's up, my bearded bros? I did mix up these teams, so you don't know where they're ranked. I don't want to spoil anything. I just wanted to throw this in at the beginning. Last week, I did the full-on edit with all the team names, positions, and position changes, other than just verbally saying it. So if you guys do like that better, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want, check out last week and then compare it to this week. I want to honestly know which one you guys like better. If you do like the edited one better, I will start doing that. It takes an extra 45 minutes for me to get that in there, but it's worth it, guys. If you do appreciate that, I will do it. Just let me know in the comment section down below. This one will remain unedited, so just let me know which one you prefer. It will be a great help. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good one. What's up, my beer bros? Maine-iac here with Week 9 Power Rankings. Now, just to let you know, the trade deadline's not going to affect it too much, but I do have some remarks for these teams on the board. They both, well, one tried to make a move, one did make a move. The San Francisco 49ers acquired Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick. Great, smart move for them. They give up a second-round pick they'd probably use on a quarterback. They'd probably use their first-round pick on a quarterback anyway, so they do kind of get some momentum there. They have an extra 6 months to talk to him about an extension, and he has experience. He's learned. He's 2-0 as a starter. Then you have the Cleveland Browns, who apparently can't learn to call the NFL in time to get their trade through, so they try to trade for backup A.J. McCarron and completely failed. Yet, if they were so interested in A.J. McCarron, they could have, maybe traded for him at 3:30, not 4 o'clock when the deadline hits. I mean, come on, Browns. Anyway, let's start the power rankings. At number 32, we have the Cleveland Browns. Not only are they the worst team in the NFL, and I swear to God, I believe that a well-coached, even Georgia team or Alabama team could probably beat these Browns. They are making so many mistakes. In their whole organization, the whole A.J. McCarron mess up is just awful. At number 31, we have the San Francisco 49ers, still winless, but I believe that changes this week against the Cardinals. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the quarterback of the future, according to the move they made, or at least that's how it seems. He'll start in a couple of weeks. He's going to learn the Kyle Shanahan offense, so until then, I don't think I'm moving them too much, but it should be interesting to see how they do. Next, at number 30, we have the Indianapolis Colts, the only other team I can think of in the league that shoots themselves in the foot as much as the Cleveland Browns. Their offensive line is absolutely terrible. Jacoby Brissett is a decent quarterback, but with an offensive line that bad, I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do. And there were rumors that they were looking for or listening to trade offers for T.Y. Hilton, and they didn't pull on that. But if they pulled on that, you're basically giving up on that, and you're leaving Andrew Luck with nothing when he gets back, which is just awful. I wouldn't even listen to him. I wouldn't even said I was listening to him. They didn't even turn down those rumors. Colts are terrible. The only teams they've beaten are the 49ers and Browns. Let's just leave it at that. At number 29, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Backup Drew Stanton, I don't believe is enough to carry the Cardinals. Adrian Peterson is a shell of his former self. He did have that one good game, so it'll be interesting to see if he can reenact that performance. But the offensive line is bad, and the defense is underperforming by a mile. Patrick Peterson's playing well, so they have that going for them. But other than that, no, not much. At number 28, we have the New York Giants with no Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall still. I struggle to put the Giants up further. They're coming off a bye week, so I didn't move them at all. Decent quarterback, or well, I should say, yeah, a decent quarterback now. He was a great quarterback previously, but I don't know if he's still that good. Eli Manning, Ingram, a bright spot for this offense. Great hybrid tight end, wide receiver. I would put him at wide receiver. To me, he doesn't block nearly well enough to be even called a tight end at all. The defense playing really solid. I just need them to get another win or two. At number 27, a team that's probably going to be dropping very shortly, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have a good young quarterback in Jameis Winston, two great receivers in Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans, two good tight ends in O.J. Howard, and, well, at least O.J. Howard. Their defense ravaged by injuries, no bye week for the rest of the year. This team is on a downward spiral. I just wish Jameis Winston would find a little bit more consistency. Number 26, we have the first actual move of the week. We have the Jets dropping down one. They're They lost to the Falcons, but they didn't just lose to the Falcons. I don't know how to say it. They lost by a penalty that ran out the clock. Are you kidding me? They are so undisciplined. Even Jamal Adams and Marcus May are good. They're really good safeties, but they're so undisciplined. Safarian Jenkins, undisciplined. McCown is leading a team of ragtag commandos, and it's just not quite working up to snuff. They have a decent record overall, but I believe they're going to be one of the basement dwellers at the end of the year. And by basement dwellers, I mean one of the bottom 10. It's just sad to see Josh McCown getting dragged down by so many, so many penalties. At number 25, we have the Bears dropping 2 spots. I have seen nothing from Mitch Trubisky so far that makes me happy. He does have Jordan Howard at running back, and he doesn't have much, I do admit, for wide receivers. And with the Miller injury, it is so hard to move them up at all or keep them even. Miller almost died. It was so bad. But luckily, he pulled through. And I just want to see Mitch Trubisky show some progress, because right now he's shown me none. I mean, he won a game, but with 7 passes. It was just awful. It's just awful. I don't know what this Bear team is. They have a decent defense, but that's it. Now, I feel dirty doing this a couple weeks after the Raiders beat the Chiefs, but they showed again that was probably a fluke. They lost a bad game to the Bills. Not discounting the Bills whatsoever, but just some of the mistakes they made, the fumbles, the turnovers. It was just awful to watch. It was painful. And Derek Carr is been one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks right up there with Jameis Winston this year. Makes me sad to watch after a team that probably had a good shot at the Super Bowl last year if Derek Carr didn't get hurt. They are a shell of their former selves. I just wish they had a little bit more consistent running back play, but they did let Latavius Murray go because they thought they had an in-house option to fix it, and they don't. At number 23, we have the first game of the week. We have the Green Bay Packers, as you can see here. The one thing that concerns me here is I don't really know yet if Aaron Rodgers is going to be back by the end of the season. That would actually impact this a little bit, as long as they can hold it together just enough. But they move up one off a bye week. Brett Hundley, he needs to improve. And I believe Mike McCarthy at least either simplifies the playbook for him or starts calling plays that's going to help him. Because if he has to throw it too many times, they are going to lose probably every single game. And at 22, we have the Tennessee Titans. Their offense, they're a decent team. It's just, to me, they just scream middle of the pack offense, middle of the pack defense. Granted, the rookie wide receiver has been injured, and they should be coming around soon. DeMarco Murray and Marcus Mariota still getting in a rhythm after being injured. So it should be interesting to see how they do. And this kind of pained me a little bit. I did drop the Chargers to 21st off after a loss to the Patriots. Besides that 80-something yard run by Melvin Gordon, I watched that game, and yes, Melvin Gordon had approximately like 13, 12 carries for another 80 yards or 60 yards, which is good. It's good, but just I guess the mistakes they made, the interception on the final play was just awful. That play call was just awful. It's not really their offense though or their defense. They got great wide receiver. They have good wide receivers. They have a great young running back. They have a great quarterback. They have a really good pass rush, and they have a decent secondary. I think the biggest issue with them is the play calling, is holding them back. They need to get an offensive coordinator who can utilize this young talent to their full potential, and they're not. And it's kind of sad. Mike Williams, though, should make a difference when he gets into full gear. Should be interesting. I think they cracked the top 20 this week, or with their next win. At number 20, we have the Baltimore Ravens jumping up 6 spots. Now, I debated on this after their inconsistency, but their defense is holding it together quite well. Their defense is playing very, very consistent, and a thing that will help a team move up, at least in my eyes, a lot better, is a consistent defense. You can have a consistent offense and not be high, just because if your defense is so wildly inconsistent, it's just you don't know what you're going to get every week, and it's hard for an offense to compensate for that. Now, I'm not saying if a defense is good and really bad or whatever, or good and or bad and bad and bad and bad or whatever. If you're like eh, you're consistent, so you know what your offense needs to make up for, so you can be ready for that. I like it. And the Ravens whooped the Dolphins 40-0, and I do regret putting the Ravens below the Dolphins, trust me, but I need to see more out of the Ravens offense first before I can move them up too much further, but they do break the top 20, which is nice. Then you have the Washington Redskins at 19. They had a bye week. They didn't have a bye week. I kept them even. I can't really see them being worse than too many other teams below them. Maybe the Chargers, maybe the Raiders if the Raiders get back. But I don't think too many teams below them are actually better than the Redskins. What can I say here? A basic swap of the positions last week. We have the Dolphins at 18. One more bad week, and they're going to plummet. I guarantee you that. They traded Jay Ajayi for scrap change. I mean, a fourth-round pick. You could have squeezed a third-round pick out of the Eagles. Probably a second-rounder if you had to. Or hell, you could have even traded a rookie or some young talent, but you didn't. And your offense is going to be led at running back by Kenyon Drake, an unproven commodity right now. You have Jay Cutler and Matt Moore as your quarterback options, which is just awful. Someone please put the hand of God on Ryan Tannehill and get him back so the Dolphins can compete again. Their defense is playing well, but how can you tell me that an illegal hit from Kiko Alonso, well, not so much an illegal hit, it was actually an okay hit. It was a late slide, I get that, but I understand why that doesn't get a fucking suspension, but how can you tell me when a defensive player who's known to be dirty chokes a freaking quarterback that he doesn't even get a 1-game suspension, and there's not even a talk about a suspension? That's just ridiculous. You're in Dominican Sue. You're one of the biggest, baddest offensive linemen, one of the dirtiest defensive linemen, one of the dirtiest players in the league, and you're telling me, oh no, you're scared that Ryan Mallett's coming at you and that he's attacking you. Grow the fuck up. You're twice the size that he is. Do you think he's really that stupid when his offense is on the field that he's going to go after you? No, he's egging you. He's baiting you, and you fell for it. You got egg on your face, and you should be fucking suspended for at least 2 games. I was hoping 4, because this is a habit of you. You get away with this shit all the fucking time. That's why I can't stand you, Sue. That's why I can't fucking stand you. I don't know why you gotta be so dirty, but you are. Screw you, man. Speaking of dirty players, at number 17, we have the Cincinnati Bengals moving up 1 spot, passing the Dolphins. Now, their offense, I do kind of like that they fumbled the trade for A.J. McCarron, because it leaves a more capable backup behind Andy Dalton in case he gets injured, which he did get injured once by trying to tackle someone with his thumb. But their defense is playing great. Another dirty player, Vontaze Burfict, but he's cleaned up his act this year, he kind of cleaned up his act this year, which I kind of like. Playing really well. Carlos Dunlap is playing really well. The thing that concerns me the most about the Bengals, though, is their offensive line is terrible. And they really, to me, I was hoping they'd trade away running their running backs. You would know that if you watched my trade video, or 10 trades that must happen. I believe their stable is at the point to where it's reaching a toxicity. There's not enough consistent touches for all 3 for them to get a rhythm. I believe it should be Giovanni Bernard as a feature back with Joe Mixon as a back that gives Bernard rest and catches out of the backfield. But I digress. Bengals at 17. They're not a terrible team, but they're not a great team whatsoever. At number 16, we have a very disappointing team, and I mean that as in their defense has been playing well, but their offensive line and quarterback play has been absolutely terrible, and they're starting Brock Osweiler this week. So you know how bad their offense has been if they're starting Brock Osweiler this week. They dropped down 2 spots to number 16, but I keep them up in the top half of the league because their defense is great. Von Miller is great. Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., both great corners. It's just they need middle-of-the-pack offense, and their team would probably be close to undefeated. But with terrible offense, it's hard for a great defense to pick up for it sometimes. Speaking of good defense and bad offense right now, we have the Carolina Panthers at number 15 coming off a win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so I did kind of regret dropping them a little bit, but the reason why I dropped them down to 15 is the trade of one receiver known as Kelvin Benjamin for to the Bills for a pick. I thought they would be more buyers at the trade deadline. I thought maybe they'd throw in an offer for Bryant or Hilton or somebody, but they didn't. And now their leading receiver is going to be Funchess. And it's just after Cam Newton's been so wildly disappointing and inconsistent, it's going to be hard for him after losing his number one receiver, and he's still without his number one tight end. And the running backs suck right now. Christian McCaffrey's not exactly the runner everyone thought he is. He's a good catcher or receiver like everyone thought he was, but running, not so much. At number 14, we have the Lions dropping a spot after a tough game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do credit them. They did stick around, but if you're going to score only field goals, you're not going to win. They did allow a 90-something yard play to Juju Smith-Schuster, 98-yard touchdown, I believe. Ben Roethlisberger did step up against the Lions defense, which they had some holes exposed, so hopefully they fill them up. I think Amir Abdullah needs to step up, definitely. And the receivers, to me, need to... I'm not saying they're not doing enough. They're doing a lot, but they need to do more. Where Eric Ebron is kind of bad, and the Lions needed to trade him. Absolutely needed to trade Ebron for their locker room environment, and they didn't. So I think it might be a downward spiral from there, and they're gonna slowly drift away from division contention. Next, we have a rise here. Cowboys at number 13, they move up 3, which is nice. Now, with the Dallas Cowboys, I like Ezekiel Elliott, how he's been playing. I don't like Ezekiel Elliott as a person. I believe he has a dog shit attitude. Should have been suspended for the parade incident. I'll mention that 100 times. I don't believe this suspension that he's facing now is unfair. He opened himself up to this scrutiny. He did really nothing to say, besides, she's lying. Oh, she's just lying. As a defense, I believe it's just fucking terrible. But Dak Prescott's playing great. Cowboys defense is playing okay. That's the one concern for me is their defense is They're coming off wins against the injured Redskins and the 49ers. So I don't want to give them too much credit for those victories. They do have a couple of good games coming up, so it'll be interesting to see how they perform there. And all it takes is one good win, and they could be jumping up. So who knows? At number 12, I kind of struggled with this one at least, but I couldn't move anybody up in the top 9 because no one in the top 9 lost or had a bad victory in my eyes. The Texans lost to the Seahawks. Deshaun Watson played well, over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, and their defense allowing the Seahawks to score over 40 points. It's kind of a worry to me. Are those turnovers going to become a habit for Deshaun? I would like to see more running game action from Lamar Miller. DeAndre Hopkins playing great. Will Fuller coming back, I think, sparked this Texans offense, and it's playing well. Should be interesting to see how they handle it moving forward. Will they win the division, or will they fumble it? Speaking of their division, the Jacksonville, or I should say the Saxonville Saxwars, or whatever you want to call them, Saxonville Jaguars. 2 games, 10 plus sacks this year. Their offense is playing consistent. I thought they were going to make a move for a tight end, but they didn't. The Texans traded away Dwayne Brown to the Seahawks, so it should be interesting to see how this division rivalry shapes up. Losing a star left tackle, against a team. Now, I know I already did the Texans. It's the Jaguars' time, but the Jaguars' defense is amazing. Calais Campbell's probably Defensive Player of the Year right now. Their secondary is one of the shutdown secondaries in the league. They have a defense that's so good, it's carrying them to a division title at this rate. And with the Texans losing their starting left tackle, if it comes down to like a late season matchup between these two for the division, I'm going Jaguars 100% of the time. Deshaun Watson can pull off magic, but with that offensive line against that defense, I'm picking that defense every single time. Now, coming up into the top 10, we have the Falcons moving up 1 spot to number 10. They played well and consistent. They did have some turnovers, which is concerning. Their defense has been struggling, which is also concerning, but they won. They now snap a 3-game losing streak that they had. They had a good start to the season. Hopefully they find some more consistency soon. because if not, then that division is as good as gone because the New Orleans Saints are absolutely running away with it. And at number 9, we have another surprise team that's leading their division. We have the Minnesota Vikings, I believe 5-2 or 6-2, something like that. Only 2 losses. Case Keenum has been performing admirably. Martavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon has been playing well for the Vikings, but I think the highlight of this Vikings is their secondary and their receiving core. Thielen, Treadwell, Diggs been playing amazing. There was one point in the season they had 2 of the top 3 receivers in yardage. Now they're at number 9 right now, which is actually maybe kind of low, but it's hard. It's really solid from 2 to 9. All these teams can beat each other any given Sunday, so it should be interesting to see how the Vikings handle it when they face one of these top teams next. At number 8, staying consistent, is the Buffalo Bills. I like the move for Kelvin Benjamin. It does solidify their wide receiving core. Zay Jones, one of the most disappointing rookies in the league this year, which is disappointing because I had such high hopes for him in the first place. LeSean McCoy's finding a rhythm. Tyrod Taylor now having a big target to go along Jordan Matthews. I think Jordan Matthews was always, in my eyes, a wide receiver too. So getting a true number 1 next to him in Benjamin is going to be good. This Buffalo Bills defense is solid. Their offense is going to be good. They're going to seriously make a push to the AFC East, and they could contend for it quite well if they handle their games against New England Patriots head to head. They got some coming up pretty soon in a few weeks, so it should be interesting. Will they win those and take the division, or will they lose those and just fall away to the wild card? At number 7, we have the division leading New Orleans Saints, a great team, great offense, with one of the best running back tandems in the league with Kamara and Ingram. Their defense is stepping up quite well. Lattimore might be my new pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's been playing great. Clutch interceptions, clutch defenses, and I just want to say I'm impressed at how their defense has been performing compared to where everybody projected them in the first place. It's quite an admirable performance, to say the least. At number 6, we have the Kansas City Chiefs playing well. Kelsey's playing great. Smith is playing well. He's preventing turnovers, which is his MO. It's usually been his MO. The offense is starting to struggle with only one true receiver, or not one true receiver, but one star receiver in Kareem in Tyreek Hill. I did say that the loss of Jeremy Maclin would prove a little bit detrimental to this offense, and it has, but their defense is playing well. But there's some holes. They've had some holes exposed, so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it from now on. At number 5, we have the Los Angeles Rams playing solid football all around. Great offense with Todd Gurley and Jared Goff playing very well. Their their receiving core is playing well. Kupp's been a good rookie. Watkins is kind of disappearing a little bit, which is cause for concern, at least for me. Aaron Donald playing great on the defense. Their running defense does need to improve in the upcoming weeks if they're going to stand a chance to catch the Seahawks. If not, they might be in a little bit of trouble, but they shouldn't worry too much. At number 4, we have the Seattle Seahawks coming off a good, tight victory against the Houston Texans. I almost dropped them a couple spots just because their defense allowed 40 points, but I think it was more of a facing an unknown commodity, at least to them. They've never faced Deshaun Watson before, so I'll give them some credit. They pulled off a victory. Their offense played really well, and that's good. They did get 3 interceptions off of Deshaun Watson, so I'll give them credit for that. They are number 4 in the league right now, bound to rise if they keep on winning. At number 3, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Almost tempted to put them up second after their offensive performance, but there's still a little bit of inconsistencies on the offense and defensive side. They definitely are a top 3 team in the league, possibly top 2. Juju Smith-Schuster being very impressive. They did keep Martavius Bryant, which is a very high concern for me because if the Steelers have a history of anything, it's a toxic environment is very, very toxic to the Steelers. Even after that Facebook Live post from Antonio Brown, it crumbled them as a team. They didn't play nearly as well as they could have, and we'll see how they handle the Martavius Brown situation. It definitely is going to be worth watching to handle forward, but I do like their offense. It's a big four now with Big Ben, Juju, Brown, and Bell. But more consistent play, then they'll probably be top two. What can I say here, guys? Top two teams. Number 2, New England Patriots. Tom Brady's playing well, making some mistakes. Gronkowski's been dropping some open passes, which kind of sucks. But without their star receiver and Julian Edelman, Brandon Cooks has really stepped up. Hogan's hurt right now. I don't know for how long. They're going into a bye week to get rested. Injuries should start healing themselves. Shea McClellan should come back from injured reserve, and that should be kind of like picking up an edge rusher / linebacker to fill the Dante Hightower void still. Harris played some of the highest snaps he's played all year, which is good. He played quite well. Got some pressure on Phillip Rivers, which caused a fumble and a loss, which is very important for these New England Patriots. They still got Gronk, and Dion Lewis has been performing really well at running back for the Patriots lately, so that should be good to watch. I like their defense's consistency lately. 2 straight games without a 300-yard passer, which is nice. 3 straight games where they only scored a little bit over 20 points, but their defensive points per game, I think, are looking a lot better now than they did at the beginning of the season. Trust me on that one. And at number 1, consistency breeds success. The Eagles are one of the most consistent teams in the league. Solid running game almost all the time. They do have some games where they struggle a little bit, but most of the time it's very consistent. Their wide receivers, without having like a superstar wide receiver, Carson Wentz is playing very, very well. Zach Ertz is a very, very, very good tight end. Carson Wentz has pulled off some. I've watched some of his games. He's pulled off some magic that I didn't think would have been possible for anybody. So that is good. Their defense has been playing amazing. Fletcher Cox, one of the most criminally underrated defensive players in the league. Their secondary has been playing very well. The thing that worries me most is the loss of Peters on the offensive line, but they still only have 1 loss, and it didn't affect them in the last game, so it should be interesting how they handle it moving forward. But until then, until they lose, they are the number 1 team in the National Football League, in my eyes, the Philadelphia Eagles. And this top 2 right here is reminiscent of the Super Bowl where it was Brady versus McNabb, and this could very possibly be a Super Bowl matchup, a rematch of a Super Bowl that launched a dynasty.